Alright, it's been a little while since I've read this book. I decided to, continue, mostly because I already read like what, a couple pages of it, eight. Well, there are 193, and so I think I might be a little in too deep, I guess some might say. And I also have something in my mind, so I felt maybe reading can distract me from it. Uh, okay, so where were we last time? So last time when I think they're talking about they met the guy met this person whose name is like Tom or something, and he's really rich. Alright, and so it happened that on a warm, windy evening, I drove over to East Egg to see two old friends whom I scarcely knew at all. Their house was even more elaborate than I expected. A cheerful red and white Georgian colonial mansion overlooking the bay. The lawn started at the beach and ran towards the front door for a quarter of a mile. Wait, how long is that? Started at the beach, went to... Oh, that's quite a large lawn. Jumping over sundials and brick walls and burning gardens. Finally, when it reached the house, drifting up the side in bright vines, as though from the momentum of its run. The front was broken by a line of French windows, glowing now with reflected gold, and wide open to the warm, windy afternoon. And Tom Buchanan, in riding clothes, was standing with his legs apart on the front porch. He had changed since his New Haven years. Now he was a sturdy, straw-haired man. What does this mean? Straw-haired. Um. Oh, yeah, that's a good question. What does that mean?
Hair. Overstyling can really cause a lot of damage and breakage and give you that rough straw-like texture.
Okay, so he has bad hair essentially. Um, straw-haired man of 30 with a rather hard mouth and a uh, how do you say this? Supercilious. So I guess he's super silly.
Supercilious.
Yeah. Oh, behaving as the one is okay. He's sort of an asshole, I guess, with a rather hard mouth and a supercilious manner. Two shining, arrogant eyes had established dominance over his face, and gave him the appearance of always leaning aggressively forward. Not even the effeminate swank of his riding clothes could hide the enormous power of that body. What is riding clothes? What does that mean? So he rode horses, I guess. He he wears these. Okay, sure. Um, he seemed to fill those glistening boots. Oh, I guess he really does wear these well. I thought riding clothes meant something else, but he seemed to fill those glistening boots until he strained the top lacing, and you could see a great pack of muscle shifting when his shoulder moved under his thin coat. It was a body capable of enormous leverage, a cruel body. His speaking voice, a gruff, husky tenor, added to the impression of frac fractiousness he conveyed. What's this mean? The quality of being a really okay. Added to how he's sort of a rough person, there was a touch of paternal contempt in it. even towards people he liked. And there were men at New Haven who had hated his guts. Now, don't think my opinion on these matters is final, he seemed to say, just because I'm stronger and more of a man than you are. Okay. I guess he like he if he lived today, I guess he'll be the type of people who'll be into Andrew Tate and such. We were in the same senior society, and while we were never intimate, man, I started when I started reading, I made a joke that the guy who wrote this is gay, but like, come on, did intimate mean something else back then, or like, I always had the impression that he approved of me and wanted me to like him, with some harsh, defiant wistfulness in his own. He talked for a few minutes on the sunny porch. I've got a nice place here, he said, his eyes flashing about restlessly. Turning me around. Holy shit. Okay. Turning me around by one arm, he moved a broad, flat hand along the front vista. What does that mean? Front vista. What's that supposed to be? I searched it up, and then it shows me like multiple different things. This shows me like a highway. This is a place, Vista, California. This is a house. This is like a shop, and then here's a wheel. Like what does that mean? Turning me around by one arm, he moved a broad, flat hand, so that's his hand, along the front vista, including in its sweep a sunken okay. Maybe vista by itself is a word. Meaning. Oh, okay, so the front view, essentially. Including in its sweep a sunken Italian garden, a half-acre of deep, pungent roses, and a snub-nosed motorboat that bumped the tide offshore. It belonged to Demain the oilman. He turned me around again, politely and abruptly. We'll go inside. We walked through a high hallway into a bright, rosy-colored space. Fragilely bound into the house by French windows at either end. The windows were ajar and gleaming white against the fresh grass outside that seemed to grow a little way into the house. A breeze blew through the room. Blue curtains in at one end and out the other like pale flags. Twisting them, what's the point of like writing all of this? You're just talking about like here. Just say we walk through a highway into a place, and then like what happens next? Why are you describing all of this? Twisting them up towards the frosted wedding cake. Oh, that's a wedding cake? That's nice. The frosted wedding cake of the ceiling. Of the ceiling? He hung a wedding cake on the ceiling, and then rippled over the wine-colored rug, making a shadow on it as wind does on the sea. The only completely stationary object in the room was an enormous couch on which two young women were boiled. I know what this word means. It means it's buoy, right, by itself. It just means like float. Were buoyed up as though upon an anchored balloon. Where were they though? I mean, they're in the room, right? Where are they? Are they sitting on like a couch or something? He's talking about how they're like floating. So like what? Are they like floating in the air or something? What's going on? They were both in white, and their dresses were rippling and fluttering as if they had just been blown back in after a short flight around the house. I must have stood for a few moments listening to the whip and snap of the curtains. How windy was that place? Jesus. And the groan of a picture on the wall. Pictures can groan. Then there was a boom as Tom Buchanan. I guess it was this. Yeah. I mean, makes sense. I thought he was like visiting two friends though, right? He was talking about he visits two friends or something. Well, I guess one of them includes Tom Buchanan. As Tom shut the rear window, and the cot's wind died out about the room. Alright, makes sense. And the curtains and the rugs and the two young women ballooned slowly to the floor. Okay. That's interesting wording. Usually we use balloon as a verb to describe something like inflates and blows up, but I guess I don't know, this time it means like it slowly float down. The younger of the two was a stranger to me. She was extended full length at her end of the divan. Okay, we need to search this up. Okay. But this is just a quote. This doesn't explain anything. What about this? Strap can't go on that website. She was extended at the divan. Well, maybe we just search up what divan means. I don't know what that word means. Divan. A long, low sofa without back or arms. Okay, can we look at one of these? It's one of those things that like you see in cartoons how therapists like make people sleep on. Okay, well, let's go back. Extended full length at her end of the divan. I guess it just means she was laying on there, completely motionless and with her chin raised a little as if she were balancing something on it, which was quite likely to fall. Great way to describe things, dude. Great way to Just can't say that. No, she was holding her chin up a little bit. No, she was holding her chin up a little bit, like she was balancing something on there that was about to fall. Okay, like I don't know. Was she like juggling it around? Was she like moving it? You know how that one scene from like Chowder where Meng Dao was like trying to balance a spoon on his hand? Okay. If she saw me out of the corner of her eyes, she gave no hint of it. Indeed, I was almost surprised into murmuring an apology for having disturbed her for coming in. The other girl, Daisy, made an attempt to rise. She leaned slightly forward with a conscientious expression. Then she laughed, an absurd, charming little laugh, and I laughed too, and came forward into the room. These people are so fucking weird, I swear. Like, this guy just walked into a room, right? He went to when he went to his friend's house, didn't say like what he was doing there. I guess just to hang out, which is fair. And then his friend, Tom, brought him into a room where there are two women in there, like laying onto that divan, and they're like one of them is catatonic, the other one is like high essentially. She saw him move slightly forward and then laughed. Like I would think someone is in an altered state of mind if I met them and then this is their first reaction. And I laughed and came forward into the room. Okay, I'm paralyzed with happiness. She laughed again. She might actually be high. She might unironically be higher here. Jesus. As if she said something very witty and held my hand for a moment, looking up into my face, promising that there was no one in the world she so much wanted to see. That was a way she had. Huh? What does this part mean? Okay, I understood this part. She promised that there was no one else in the world she wanted to see. That was a way she had. Okay. I'm just going to skip this part. She hinted in a murmur that the surname of the balancing girl was Baker. I've heard that her murmur was only to make people lean towards her, an irrelevant criticism that made it no less charming. At any rate, Baker's lips fluttered. She nodded at me almost imperceptibly. Okay. Oh, imperceptible, so almost cannot be perceived. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Almost imperceptible. Fuck, whatever. And then quickly tipped her head back again. The object she was balancing had obviously tottered a little. Okay, we need to find what totter means. Totter, move in a feeble and okay. A little, and given her something of a fright. Is she genuinely like balancing something on her chin that he can't see? Because like he's like reusing this metaphor. What is this? Again, a sort of apology arose to my lips. Almost any exhibition of complete self-sufficiency draws a stunned tribute from me. Any exhibition of complete self-sufficiency. How does that show that? Like when I think of the term complete self-sufficiency, I think of like I don't know, like I don't know if anyone has played the game Oxygen Not Included, but like how it's like a colony management game. Like I think of like a self-sufficient colony that can completely takes care of itself, and basically the game plays itself. That's what I think of. But from here I cannot. What does this mean? How do you see that from her trying to balance something? Okay. He's stunned from that, I guess. I look back at my cousin, who began to ask me questions in her. Wait, your cousin? Where did you mention your cousin? Who's your cousin? Is that Daisy? Okay, I guess. I thought Daisy and Baker are just two random girls that Tom guy had over. I looked back at my cousin, who began to ask me questions in her low, thrilling voice. It was the kind of voice that the ear follows up and down, as if each speech is an arrangement of notes that will never be played again. Her face was sad and lovely, with bright things in it. Bright eyes and a bright, passionate mouth. Okay. How about her nose? Is her nose also like bright? But there was an excitement in her voice that men who had cared for her found difficult to forget. A singing composure, a whispered listen, a promise that she had done gay, exciting things. She had done gay, exciting things just a while since, and that there were gay, exciting things hovering in the next hours. Okay. So what? So she leaned over and whispered something. We don't even get what she even said, except for listen. And then there's all this other shit, where it's like, oh, she's like really excited and gay. Okay. I didn't even know you had your cousin over. I told her how I had stopped off in Chicago for a day on my way east, and how a dozen people had sent their love through me. Oh, this guy is quite a ladies' man, I guess. Or a man's man, you never know, I mean. Do they miss me? She cried ecstatically. Sends their love through me, not to me. Okay, so they asked him how is his cousin doing, I guess. The whole town is desolate. All the cars have the left rear wheel painted black as a mourning wreath, and there's a persistent wail all night along the North Shore. What, did they think she died? How gorgeous. Let's go back. Tom, tomorrow. Then she suddenly, irrelevantly, you ought to see the baby. I'd like to. She's asleep. She's 2 years old. Haven't you ever seen her? Never. Well, you ought to. She's... Tom Buchanan, who had been hovering restlessly over the room, stopped and rested his hand on my shoulder. Okay. I guess his cousin married to Tom and had his child. Alright. Lore drop. Weird flex, but okay. That's an old ass meme, Jesus Christ. What are you doing, Nick? I'm a bond man. Who with? I told him. What does that mean? A bond man? Like, is he married? What's the meaning? A male bound to serve without wages. So slave? I guess. Who with? But wait, is it legit saying? What does that mean? A bond. I assumed it meant that, you know, he's married. But it means a slave. Okay. Who with? I told him. Never heard of him. He remarked decisively. This annoyed me. You will. I answered. You will see my slave master later. Don't worry. I answered shortly. You will if you stay in the east. Oh, I will stay in the east. Don't you worry, he said, glancing at Daisy and then back at me. As if he were alert for something more. I'll be a goddamn fool to live anywhere else. At this point, Miss Baker said absolutely with such suddenness that I startled. It was the first word she yeah, to be fair, she's like fucking one's catatonic, the other one's just like hi. Which is also your friend's wife, which is also your cousin apparently. Not the best state of affair. It was the first word she said since I came into the room. Evidently, it surprised her as much as it did me, for she yawned with a series of rapid, deft movements, stood up in the room. She yawned with a series. I'm like trying to imagine it in my head. So what did she like deliberately stood up and then like yawned very hard? She like kept opening her mouth and like that one gif of like people laughing, but like their entire maw is like gaped open to the point that their heads are pointing backwards. I don't know. I'm this fucking book, I swear. I'm stiff, she complained. I've been lying on that sofa for as long as I can remember. Don't look at me, Daisy retorted. I've been trying to get you to New York all afternoon. No thanks, said Miss Baker. To the 4 cocktails just in from the pantry. I'm absolutely in training. In training for what? Her host looked at her incredulously. Alright, yet another word we need to look up for. Incredulous. Unwilling to admit or accept what is offered as true. So skeptically, essentially. Her host looked at her skeptically. You are. He took down, the bartender? The host, I guess, her host. Which I don't know who that is. Maybe Tom? He took down his drink as if it were a drop in the bottom of a glass. So I guess he like fucking threw it on the floor. How you ever get anything done is beyond me. I looked at Miss Baker, wondering what it was she got done. I enjoy looking at her. Okay, weird, kind of weird. She was a slender, small-breasted girl with an erect carriage. What does that mean? Erect carriage. Which she accentuated by throwing her okay, I guess ass. She got that gat. by throwing her body backward at the shoulders. Throwing her body backwards at the shoulders, like a young cadet. Cadets are people, I don't know. Trainee. Okay, so I guess carriage is not ass then. It might be her chest. So throwing her at the shoulder. So I guess she holds her chest up very high. I don't know. Her gray sun-strained eyes, look back at me with polite, reciprocal curiosity out of a wan. What does this mean? A wan. Okay, word so obscure that Google doesn't even recognize it as a word. Doesn't give a meaning to it. A person pale giving. Okay, look. She looks ill. Out of a wan, charming, discontented face, it occurred to me now that I had seen her or a picture of her somewhere before. You live in West Egg, she remarked contemptuously. I know somebody there. I don't know a single. You must know Gatsby. Gatsby? Demanded Daisy. Who's the guy saying I don't know a single? I guess that should be Tom. What Gatsby? Daisy, that's your cousin's lover. That's yeah. Before I could reply that he was my neighbor, dinner was announced. Wedging his tense arm imperatively undermined Tom Buchanan. Compelled. Okay. Wedging his tense arm imperatively undermine as in under my arm. Okay, so this is what Tom Buchanan is doing. Tom Buchanan compelled me from the room. Compelled me from the room. I guess he asked him he took him out. So he walked out as though he were moving a checker to another square. Okay, for once, a metaphor that I actually like. Okay, moving a checker to another square. You kind of implies that you're like a pawn to him, right? You're just another game piece to him. Slenderly, languidly, their hands set lightly on their hips, the two young women preceded us out onto a rosy color. I guess those two left before they did. Onto a rosy-colored porch open toward the sunset, where 4 candles flickered on the table in the diminished wind. Onto a porch, open toward the sunset. Okay. I thought they were having dinner. They're eating outside. Okay. Why candles? Objected Daisy, frowning. She snapped them out with her fingers. In 2 weeks, it'll be the longest day in the year. Why? She looked at us all radiantly. Do you always watch for the longest day of the year and then miss it? I always watch for the longest day in the year and then miss it. I guess she said it again. What does that mean? We ought to plan something, said Miss Baker, sitting down at the table as if she were getting into bed. She's sleepy as fuck. Get her into bed. She clearly, she doesn't need food. She can eat later on. Alright, said Daisy. What will we plan? She turned to me helplessly. What do people plan? I don't know what they're talking about, dude. Like, they're planning something because she said that, whatever, 2 weeks later it'll be the longest day in the year. What, are they, planning to, I don't know, are they, going on a road trip or something? Before I could answer, her eyes fastened with an odd expression on her little finger. Okay, yeah, her little finger grew a face, and then that's the odd expression that she had. Look, she complained. I heard it. We all looked. The knuckle was black and blue. Whoa. What happened? You did it, Tom, she said accusingly. I know you didn't mean to, but you did do it. That's what I get for marrying a brute of a man. Oh wow, he beats her wife, Jesus. A great big hulking physical specimen of a... I hate that word hulking, objected Tom. Even in kidding. Hulking. Okay, well, alright, Daisy, I hate to give advice, but if he beats you, then I wouldn't want to anger him. I wouldn't want to piss him off if I were you. Sometimes she and Miss Baker talked at once, unobtrusively and with a bantering inconsequence that was never quite chatter. Never quite chatter. So then what could it be? Bantering inconsequence. I cannot think of a better word to describe what this is other than chatter. Maybe small talk, but whatever. Maybe the term small talk wasn't invented back in the days. That was as cool as their white dresses. What? That was as cool. What? The chatter? That whatever they're talking about? That was as cool as their white dresses and their impersonal eyes in the absence of all desire. They were here, and they accepted Tom and me. Okay, this part is a bit more difficult to get. That was as cool as their white dresses and their impersonal eyes. Impersonal, so like I guess kinda cold, I guess you could say. In the absence of all desire. Absence of all desire sounds kind of soulless. I don't know. So they're kind of like dead in the eyes. I don't know. That was just cool. I guess the chatter. Yeah, they make stupid talk. They talk about stupid shit that doesn't matter and is completely empty. I guess that's what he's trying to say. They were here and they accepted Tom and me, making only a polite, pleasant effort to entertain or to be entertained. They knew that presently dinner would be over, and a little later the evening too would be over, and casually put away. Okay. It was sharply different from the West, where an evening was hurried from face to face towards its close in a continually disappointed anticipation, or else in sheer nervous dread of the moment itself. Whoa. What the fuck? What does that mean? Randy coming back for Halloween. Like, wait. Okay. So, like, they're talking about, like, nothing, essentially. They talk about nothing. And because they knew that, currently, they're gonna have dinner, they're gonna eat mac and cheese or whatever they had. And then that would be day, that would be, and then they'll be on their merry way. But back in the days, in the West, they live in Berlin. In the West, where they had to hurry from face to face towards its close in, a continually disappointed towards its close in a continually disappointed anticipation, or else in sheer nervous dread of the moment itself. What the fuck happened back in the West? That is the average evening of a West inhibitor, I guess. Okay. You make me feel uncivilized, Daisy. I confess on my second glass of corky. What's that? Is that just a fancy way of saying wine? Okay, that does not seem to be what I mean. Meaning, I guess drink. I guess this. This was what they were drinking, I guess. Okay, I don't drink alcohol, so I don't know shit. But rather a another word I don't know. Claret. It's a type of wine. Okay. I confess on my second glass of corky. Oh, corky is a motherfucker. Okay, corky is an adjective in this case. On my second glass of corky but rather impressive claret. Can't you talk about crops or something? I meant nothing in particular by this remark, but it was taken up in an unexpected way. Okay, you make me feel uncivilized. Can't you talk about crops or something? What were Daisy and Baker talking about? Like quantum physics, like something like super smart that makes you feel uncivilized? I meant civilization is going to pieces. Broke out Tom violently. Okay, he just screamed that out. Civilization is going to pieces. I've gotten to be a terrible pessimist about things. Have you read The Rise of the Colored Empires by this man Goddard? Goddard, I should say. Why no? I answered, rather surprised by his tone. Yeah, he's like fucking pissed off. Well, it's a fine book, and everybody ought to read it. The idea is if we don't look out, the white race will... Okay, well... Okay. Things just went from 0 to 100 there. The idea is we don't look out, the white race will be utterly submerged. Okay. Okay, I see the reason why it's called the rise of the colored empires now. Okay. I didn't think it had that meaning, but sure. It's all scientific stuff. It's been proved. Tom's getting very profound, said Daisy with an expression of unthoughtful sadness. Yeah, I think I'll be sad if your husband is sort of like a white supremacist. He reads deep books with long words in them. Huh, you say. Motherfucker used when. What was that word we... Well, these books are all scientific, insisted Tom, glancing at her impatiently. This fellow has worked out the whole thing. It's up to us who are the dominant race. Yes, there you go. That confirms it. Yep. Who are the dominant race to watch out, or those other races will have control of things. We've got to beat them down, whispered Daisy, winking ferociously towards the fervent sun. Okay. You ought to live in California, began Miss Baker, but Tom interrupted her by shifting heavily in his chair. Okay, he made this sound at the start of Alberto Bosam, I think, by Aphex Twin. Where were we? This idea is that we're Nordics. I am, and you are, and after an infinitesimal of hesitation, infinitesimal, so like infinitely small hesitation, he included Daisy with a slight nod. Okay, and she winked at me again. And we've produced all the things that go to what? Make civilization, science and art, all that. Do you see? Okay. So he's talking about like he's Nordic, and that Nick and Daisy is also Nordic, but I guess not Baker. I don't know where Baker came from. Baker, I don't know, and they all, I guess Tom, Nick, and Daisy personally. Nah, they're not. I know. I'm just joking around. So like white people essentially made all the good things in life. They made science, they made art, they make all the good shit. There was something pathetic in his yeah, you don't say. In his concentration, as if his complacency more acute than of old. What? More acute than of old. What the fuck? What does that mean? More, like even more so than before. Is that what you mean? Was not enough to him anymore. When almost immediately the telephone rang inside and the butler left the porch, Daisy seized upon the momentary interruption and leaned towards me. "I'll tell you a family secret," she whispered enthusiastically. Okay. Alright, we've made quite good progress, I'd say. 17. We started at... I think last time we were at 8, right? 8 on here. Because, I don't know, the book starts at where? The book starts at 3, so we minus 3 to the number. Minus 2, actually, sorry. So 17, that would be 15, I'd say. Yeah. So 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Wow, 15. What, we read 9 pages then, actually. Starting from... Okay. Wait, is it? Hold on. We were at 8. Yes, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, there you go. 9 pages. Okay. Well, we ended at right here, so more specifically, it should be 8. Okay, well, we read 8 pages. I think that's pretty good. Each time we're doubling the number of pages that we read. Like, first episode we read 1, 2. Then it's 3, 4, 6, so 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go. Alright, pretty good. I think we're making pretty good progress and we're starting to understand it better. I still have to, like, search things up. I had opened, like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15 tabs to read through this. But I think we're doing much quicker. Okay. Alright, well, I guess that's it for this episode. See you all.